around Oslo. I do G2G Jewelry. You may or may not have seen it around town in different areas. I also go by Oslo Custom Works, which is what I started doing, is upcycle materials and lamps and clocks mostly. Really kind of funky home decor stuff. And then I do everything as far as jewelry from everyday wear. So, you wear it to the office or whatever, or you wear it out to dinner or something like that, all the way up to crazy, crazy stuff. This is a belt that I made recently for a photo shoot. So I kind of do some costuming. It's not something most people would probably wear outside the house. And then most of my work with the jewelry is based in scrap metal. So a lot of the stuff is actually this is a piece of an old engraved plate from a trophy shop. So I buy scrap metal from trophy shops. Some of it is actually, this piece was an old plaque. So basically I sand down the coating that's on it, and if there wasn't any engraving in it, that will go on the back side of the piece. So sometimes, occasionally on the back side of an earring or something, there you might see faint lines left over from engraving or something. This copper cuff actually is from a copper pipe. I needed a heavy gauge copper and I couldn't find it in a sheet, so I bought a pipe that was the right thickness and cut it and pounded it flat and all that. Some of the heavier stuff I bought at scrap yards, like this heavier gauge aluminum. I believe it's from the sign industry. People get signs made for, drive down the road and you see the big signs. I don't know, I can't think of any sign companies right now, but and then I also get some material from a trailer factory in North Manchester, a lot of sheet aluminum, so that stuff's tough to sand off. I like dealing with the engraving stuff better, it's easier. The paint that they put on those things goes through sandpaper like crazy getting it off. And then you'll notice some of the stuff has rivets in it. These are hand-formed solid rivets that I make. That's what I'm going to do a little demo on, kind of show, because people will see it and they don't understand what goes into that detail. Connecting these two plates together, adding that little bit of detail, plus, well, I say skill, I guess I'm used to doing it now, but it's not something that everybody does. And things like this where I've connected these pieces with rivets, with plates in the back of the leather. So it's actually a very strong mechanical connection, and it gives that really nice detail. So what I do is I made this little rivet die. It's actually two pieces of scrap steel that I found. And it's sort of like a bullet die where you'd have a similar thing. You pour molten lead into the die. What I've done is where these two pieces come together is I drilled holes, 16th inch holes, and I have two different lengths that I generally use, a longer one and a short one. And then this is just a piece of 16th inch solid brass rod, and I'm going to do some long ones. I keep my die kind of loose to start with to make sure all the holes line up, and I just come through, cut little pieces to put in there. Just going to make enough to do this pendant here. Just tighten it down. So this is where I'm going to put the head on the rivet, which is the back. So basically you just have these little pieces sticking out. And I try to make them as close as possible, but...
Hold on. Okay, there you go.
What's the end product going to be?
It'll be a rivet, a solid rivet. It'll look like a little nail, basically, or a brad. So I'm just going to come through with the hammer and So I'll do one more. So what that does is I round out the head, flatten it out. Now that'll be the back side of the rivet.
Now, is this die something that you kind of invented, or is it?
Yeah, because I was making them one at a time. Actually, on my little vise here, there's some little holes drilled in my vise, and I would do them one at a time. And I still use this sometimes, where I would actually take the two pieces I was doing, put them together, put them over here, cut it, hammer one side, flip it over, do the other side. So I started looking around, figuring it had to be an easier way to do it. And I don't know of anybody that does it this way. I've looked at some of what I call the actual jewelers and metalsmiths do, and I haven't seen anybody do that yet. So, I don't know. It made sense to me.
Did you have any training in art, or how did you get into this?
I'm all self-taught. Especially with the jewelry, I started selling about 3 years ago in some nice boutiques around town. And honestly, I had a friend who was selling jewelry at farmers markets. My good friend Candy. I'm going to call her out in the video. So she was making like $100 a weekend or something at farmer's market, and I was working a labor job basically at a greenhouse, and I was like, well, you're sitting around for 6 hours a day making $100. I'm gonna make some jewelry. So that's really how it started, and then she actually showed me what I needed to start with, as far as all the findings and what tools I needed and everything, and then I started doing it, and then I started looking around, and I figured I didn't want to be like everybody else. So I kind of started from that point. I was standing in my shop and just like playing with some pieces of metal, and it's like, I'm going to take scrap metal and make it high fashion. And then I just started running with it, and now I've been published in a few online magazines. I've got some very interesting people wearing my stuff. As far as modeling, I'm really pushing into the fashion world with my stuff. If you're on Facebook, I show everything on there in a group. My page, like my business page, I don't use it that much anymore. And then my website just kind of shows a taste of what I do, similar to what's here. It's not everything, but it kind of shows a lot of what I do. And then there's a portfolio page, and that shows a lot of the fashion side of things, photo shoots I've worked with or styled. So that's one of the things that's really interesting about doing this stuff. So anyways, I've got these rivets done. I'm just going to line this up. I got to start at one corner. See, this is a I'm just using this drill bit to deburr the hole. I'll purposely make or use rivets that are a little bit too long, so once I get them through the material, I can kind of trim them where I want. Oops, I went flat. True interaction. I'm trying to point them away from everybody.
I was thinking to myself, I think you need a
protect your eyes more too. As much as you do with little stuff, you could hurt yourself.
I make sure that they go flying away from my face. Just towards the people watching you.
Yes. They could have flew right out, but I know it.
Basically what I'm doing is I'm working around in a circle and it slowly mushrooms the head out and it gives the rivet actually a hammered texture as well. I do it into the steel wool this time so it doesn't fly.
From beginning to end, how long does it take you to make your average piece?
It varies so much that I almost couldn't even give you an average. It always takes longer designing the first piece. And then once I have the templates done, like here's the template for this piece. I would say I could probably do this if I had the rivets made and everything. I could probably, if I was in a hurry, do it in a half an hour or something. But it probably takes like an hour for the first one. And then, I mean, something as simple as like a pair of earrings like this, I could do that in 15 minutes now. Just because I've been doing it for long enough. Now this piece I just designed today, and that probably took me like an hour and a half or more.
I love
Just
it.
getting the proportion right, and figuring out how it was, gonna work out, getting the templates made, cut out. Because I figured it was probably gonna be something I was gonna make again, so I actually made a template for it.
It's very pretty.
Thank you. And once I get the first two rivets in there to hold it, then I can just go through and drill all the rest of my holes.
How many bits do you go through?
Surprisingly, not as many as you'd think. I do go through the 16th inch ones quite a bit. Usually I end up breaking them, drilling brass bars like this. So that's actually an 1/8 inch bar that's blown up there. Those I end up breaking, ruining a fair amount of pieces. Sometimes I just need to slow down. I think what it is I think the brass expands faster than the steel as it heats up, so it starts pinching the bit, so you have to go a lot slower so that it'll not, so it doesn't get it hot, but also the bit keeps taking that material out, I guess, as it expands. That's my guess. I don't know if that's true. That's what seems to happen.
That.
Oh, no, I work out of my garage.
Oh, okay.
I mean, basically, my two-car garage is storage and my shop. It pretty much takes up about half of it. It's actually a defined space. And it's a mess. Allie behind the camera can attest to that. She's been there many
You had it
times.
clean once.
I had it clean once, and that was, I don't know. I couldn't find anything. Nobody's complained yet.
Is this basically your only job now, or do you?
I wish. Actually, I work at Walmart full time. Well, technically part time now. You remember, I work 4 days a week there, and I'm working on trying to do this full time. Wife and 2 little kids, 2
You
little
need to patent
boys.
your little idea with your thing.
I think it's probably too late for that.
You think so?
There was a
Many
magazine.
people have seen it, huh?
There was a magazine that wanted me to do a tutorial on how I did it, but I didn't feel like I really fit the magazine, so I declined.
That would give you a start on your money.
Yeah, it might have. I may do it someday, I don't know. And then, since that's obviously oversized, I'm just going to come through and trim that. Now, there has been several people that can't stand the filing, sitting there in the shop, cringing.
What do you use to vacuum up to get the little pieces up?
Off the floor.
I just think that whoever's in here doesn't go through it barefoot. They'll get those little things in their feet.
I sweep every now and then. If I have
In
a...
your shop, I understand. I
Yeah.
just meant if your other.
Oh, just the vacuum's fine if I got
I
something
didn't know
on the
how.
floor here, but...
You know, some things are so minute that it's hard to pick things up too.
Usually if I drop something small on my floor in a shop, I just don't even look for it because it's gone. It disappears. So you can just pass that around and see how the rivet head has the textured surface, and it kind of matches the rest. Now if I hammer them flat, they'll have just a flat head on there. And then one of the things I like doing is mixing textures as well as the metals, because you can add depth to something that doesn't have any depth by adding a texture to it, so you're drawn to two different areas, visual depth.
That's neat. Yes.
So anyways, that's a little bit that goes into what I do.
Thank you
Very
so much.
interesting.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Are you selling any jewelry today?
Yeah, everything here. Taking all offers.
You are?
Do you have a card?
Yes, I have cards here.
Okay.
He's having a spring sale.
Yeah, I have 2 different. I kind of have a little bit of overstock, some stuff that's not usual for the kind of stuff like the crystal things up here, the earrings. If you know any little girls, perfect for them. Granddaughters or
grown women.
daughters,
grown
possibly.
women.
Some women like it too. It's not my usual thing. I had a whole bunch of crystals for some projects I did, and I ended up making earrings with a bunch of leftovers.
How much are those?
All this stuff in this row is $10. All this stuff in this row is $20. Here's some of my newer stuff over here. These are all priced at retail. This is one of my original pieces right here from way back. Somehow it got lost in the shop when I found it. What I was doing was actually pieces of cut pipe out of the scrap metal I was using. It's aluminum, like really high grade aluminum alloy from PhD Incorporated here in town. So I was doing whole sets of earrings and necklaces and stuff with those rings. And then I started getting into the hammered stuff after that, and that's when things really took off, was the hammer textures.
So you are having success then with your
Yeah, I actually surprisingly
Weekends,
was
sales?
the first month I started selling at Cemetery over in Jefferson Point, or Covington Plaza, was a successful month, and been there 3 years now. On my website it shows the various places that I sell at. The Bent Fork in Angola, House Furniture, Cemetery, Essentials and Frosting has a lamp. Right now, the new art gallery in Jefferson Point has a collection of my jewelry as well as some of my art stuff. They have some of the more artistic style of jewelry that I do, because I do what I call kind of production stuff, and then I do kind of my artistic release stuff, where I make stuff just because I feel like it. So it doesn't necessarily fit into the store locations. It doesn't fit into the clientele of the store, but just because I feel like making it, or like Photoshop pieces, like this will probably go over, once I put strings on it, we'll go over to the gallery, at least as a display or something. But
Tiny.
we use duct tape for that at the shoot. The camera can't see it. A lot of stuff you can get away with in photo shoots.
That's really neat.
I've got some earrings on.
Those are beautiful.
I swear.
And they're lightweight too. Like,
Yeah, most of the stuff is
It's
very
very
lightweight.
lightweight.
Like, it looks heavy, and these are probably some of the heavier earrings I have. Those actually were designed for a photo shoot, and then I'm selling a few pairs, so I made some more. So some of this stuff comes out of me just thinking of it, or sometimes somebody will want me to do something for a specific style of photo shoot. Those cuffs are those were designed for a photo shoot, and they've been in several now. There's 2 different size straps there.
oh, okay, snap on.
It's so unique.
I love that.
Oh, that's pretty.
And a lot of the stuff I can do in any of the metals. So, like, say you liked these or something, but you wanted it in brass, basically gold or copper. I'll do almost anything in the other metals too. I do a lot of custom fitting or actual custom pieces where somebody will, I like this, but I want to change this. So I do a lot of that kind of stuff too for people, where they'll see something of mine and want to change something, or just me to design something specifically for them, a client or whatever. So guys, that's what I do.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for watching.